Eureka! Hey folks, welcome back to the second video in the Cooler Master Masterbox Lite 3.1 video series. Today we're going to come up with a longer name for this case. Just kidding. But that is a pretty long name. No, last time we went ahead and changed out the chintzy plastic side panel for a piece of 3/16 acrylic, kind of class the case up, give us a better view of our hardware. Today I'm going to let you in on my master plan for this case, and that is basically to turn it into a high-end amp clone. When I say that, what I mean is like home theater amps like Marantz and companies like that put out these really monolithic looking amps for home theater. I think this case can be made to look like that, and that's kind of my goal with taking a cheap box and making it look expensive. We're going to go for that high-end home theater look in a $50 case. Now, to do that, the first thing we need to kind of tackle is the fact that this is a tower. And maybe I'm out of the loop, but I have not seen a whole lot of home theater tower components. So we need to turn this thing into a desktop first. So to do that, we're going to add some feet. Now, the feet that I've got are the billet aluminum feet from mnpctech.com. I love these things. I use them all the time. They're very easy to install. Basically, it just takes a bolt and a nut and drill a hole for it and slap it on. I was concerned, this case does have a bump out for cable management in the back, and I thought, man, I'm going to have to make a new panel to put these feet on, which wouldn't have been hard because basically it would have been the same as making our clear acrylic panel. But as you can see, the feet just barely fit. So it's going to be perfect. Be an easy little mod to do real quick. We're basically going to have to lay this down, mark out where the feet go, drill some holes, and this should be done. So let's go ahead and jump into laying out the feet. That way we can get this mod knocked out. Okay, so you can see we started out with some tape and some lines. The tape's going to give us something to write on and also kind of protect the surface. The lines, they actually correspond to our rails that are underneath the door that it sits on. We don't want to put a bolt or anything in those just because that'll be a lot more work than we're looking for. So now that we've got that laid out, we can set our feet on here, kind of eyeball where we want them. We do have to keep in mind that one of the funny things about this case, and it's, I mean, pretty much every case is the same. This door, we can't just center the feet on the door and call it good. We've got an extra ½ inch or so up here at the top. So we're going to have to take that into account when we're setting our feet, unless we want our feet to set kind of funny when you look at it from the front. So we're going to go through and try to make sure that we're not going to be in any of our rails with our nuts or anything, or screws. And that we're not on this bump out, so our feet are actually going to set level. It's going to get a little funny on this back one, I think, just because we have to push it up so much farther into the side panel. But somewhere in there, I think that'll look pretty good. What we'll do is mark out kind of the centers on these, and that'll give us our measurements, and then we'll transpose our measurements around. Probably ought to mark them out before I start transposing stuff though, right? Now I did have to go in and kind of adjust a little bit where I had these original top ones. Was a little too high and put our foot on this bump out, so I adjusted it down, transposed that number. I think it's going to work out. What we're going to do now is set our feet back on, kind of where they're going to go, using our marks as our guide, just to make sure before we start drilling anything that these are going to set the way we want them to set. I think that's going to work. Now that we're happy with the locations of our feet, we're going to take our punch, we're going to punch our holes, or our centers, so that our drill bits kind of follow through straight. kind of scary on this really thin metal. Everything seems to bend. And the way we're going to drill this is we're going to drill a small pilot hole, and that's going to allow our step bit to actually center up and feed through. Now I'm going to use a step bit because a lot of times, in my experience, high-speed bits, the bigger ones in this light sheet metal like this, basically once you start breaking through, they stop being a drill bit, start being a screw, and just yank it down and bend the metal around. I'm hoping that this step bit will actually cut a lot cleaner holes. So what we need to do is make sure we get a big enough hole to go through. I think 9/32 should give us enough. So I'm going to find the 9/32 mark, and I'm actually going to put a piece of tape around this bit where I want to stop. I find that helps me keep track of what I'm doing a lot better, because I'm usually not paying too much attention as the drill bit's going. Or it's actually just kind of hard for me to see. Alright, so now we got some tape. I know where I need to stop. Let's go ahead and drill our pilot holes. Oh, there's an extra rail on the back of this. I guess we'll have to go through that as well. Probably should have looked at that when I was laying all this out. So, one extra thing to think about when you're doing it on your own. But it'll be pretty easy to get around. And we missed it on the back one. So, everything turned out well. We are going to have to eat this out with a Dremel, but we can do that after we get some of this drilled out. Now we're just going to use our step bit. And that went through pretty quick. And let's grab a screw to make sure we've got the right size. Perfect. So on to the next. This is the one that has the extra piece behind it. I'm actually going to take our little high-speed bit, and I'm going to drill a hole and see if I can't punch through that. And then take the step bit through it as well. We'll see what that gives me. Okay, so there our holes are drilled. Now we can take our tape off, kind of clean this up a little bit with a file or some sandpaper. Make sure we don't have any rough edges. Okay, now it's time to put our feet on. Now with these, I'd like to put the bolts through the panel and then through the foot. I think Bill and them may intend to go the other way. But what I find is that you normally can see this on the inside, and you'll never see the bottom of this, so I'd rather have the nut there. So, and I think we're going to be a little close on sliding this back panel on, so not having a whole lot of extra junk hanging out on the back of this panel is probably going to help us. So I do think that these are going to be a little bit long. Yeah, just a bit long. So we can't leave them like this, but they will work for now. And then we'll just have to make a trip to the hardware store to get the right size. Okay, and now we're ready to see if it fits. We're going to have to push down on the back a little bit. maybe a little bit more. All the clips caught though, so let's put some screws in it. Put this panel on. And there we go. We now have a desktop. And there you go. Pretty simple way of putting case feet on the back of a case. Not your standard mod, but also mounting the case feet. You can do that to the bottom of a case on a regular tower and give your case some nice new shoes. So this is one of those that it's kind of interesting the way we're using it, but it transfers to other cases. So I do like it though, the way it sits. Definitely, you can kind of see where this mod's headed now. I just need to go to the hardware store, get some shorter bolts so it's not sitting on my table and scratching it up. But that's all I've got for today. So if you like the video, hit the like button. If you want to see what comes up next with our little box here, hit the subscribe. If you want to leave a comment or ask a question, hit me up in the comment section. And I guess until I see you all next time, get out there and mod something.